Hi, so what color is a banana? Yellow? Well, is this banana yellow? Our image of bananas is yellow, but that's your abstract banana, the banana that you've created. We all know bananas begin green, ripen, become yellow, and eventually end up black. But our topic today is not bananas, it's logic and language. What I want to do is to introduce the focus of this course. There are three main parts. First, identifying arguments. Second, fallacies. And third, evaluating arguments. In the first part, we're going to study what premises are, conclusions, reasoning, and we're going to focus on one type of logic called propositional logic. In fallacies, we're going to look at formal fallacies, which discuss the structure or problems with the structure of an argument. Informal fallacies, which are about problems with the reasoning of the argument. And rhetorical ploys, which focus on emotional strategies. When we evaluate arguments, we have to look at the premises and decide, are they true? Or is there enough evidence for them? And to identify if there are some assumptions which are not stated, some hidden premises. In the reasoning, we're going to think about the different types of reasoning and how that leads to an argument that's valid or not valid. We're also going to look at the conclusion itself and try to work out whether conclusions are sound or cogent or unsound, uncogent. So that's where we're going. Okay, test time. 3 questions. Look at the questions. Pause the video if you want. Right. Which one carries truth value? A green banana? No. Banana's yellow. But that's not the problem. Can people breathe water? No. They can't, but that's not the problem. Here, the only one that carries truth value is the third one. Green bananas do not breathe water. Why? Because we can state that it's either true or false. The first one, a green banana, is a noun phrase. It has no verb, it has no subject. We don't even know what it means. Does it mean there is a green banana? There is not a green banana? A green banana flies in the sky? We don't know. The second one's a question. The third one is the only one that's a statement, or should I be more clear, the only one that's a declarative statement. Declarative statements need a subject, green bananas, a verb, do not breathe. So when you've got a declarative statement which has got a subject and something that's not the subject, the predicate part, then we can assign it a value, and the value can either be true or false. So when we talk about something as truth value, it means it's possible to assign it a value of either true or false. The second group, which one's a declarative statement? Well, we know green bananas do not breathe water is a declarative statement. Why? Because it's not a question, it's not an order, it's got a subject, and it's got a verb. Let's look at the ones. Finish reading. Well, that's an order, isn't it? Hey, stand up, sit down, finish reading. So it's not a declarative statement. It's actually an imperative statement. Did you finish reading? Well, it's a question. It's an interrogative statement. The last one, I, subject, am still reading, verb. And we have a book, which is the object. I'm still reading the book. This is the only declarative statement. That means we can assign it a value of either true or false. Which terms can replace x or y in the equation below? X and y equals argument. So, well, let's move on. That was the answer for truth value. That was the answer for declarative statement. Premises and conclusions, evidence and claims. If we're talking about formal logic, we tend to use the word premises and conclusions. When we're just talking generally, we tend to use words like evidence and claims. In this course, we're going to mainly focus on deductive reasoning, and we're mainly going to be focusing on premises and conclusions. But basically, we start with the premise, we have some thinking process, some aha, and we move to conclusion. And the same from evidence. We see the evidence, we make a decision, and then whatever that decision is, we can call it your claim or your conclusion. When we're evaluating evidence, we need to think about truth. But truth or fact or reality are not so easy. There are many types of truth, but I just want to introduce 3 types, the most common types. So the first one is correspondence theory of truth. This is where a statement is true when it reflects reality. Here we have a problem with what is reality. Let's imagine you're one of the people in this cave. So you're in the cave, you're looking at some shadows. You have never seen behind you, you've never left the cave, nothing else. The only thing you know is the reality of the cave itself. Therefore, you will assume that these shadows are real. So by the correspondence theory of truth, your reality is this small world here inside the cave, and you have no idea there is some light source behind some objects creating the shadows. The second type of truth is the coherence theory of truth. This is where statements do not contradict other true statements. So let's take an example. You're outside, you see a motorcycle speeding by. Then you hear a screech. Then you hear a crash. And then you look and you see around the bend there's some black smoke. Well, from those, the image, the sounds, we can work out what happened. We make our best guess. And our best guess is not the motorcyclist stopped to have a sandwich and a cup of coffee. Our best guess is he was going too fast and he fell off his motorcycle. Let's come to the third type of truth, the pragmatic theory. Here, it's very practical and we consider it true if it works. Now we have some problems because when you consider it true if it works for you, it could work because of some beliefs. So the beliefs may be cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, beliefs about your society, or maybe even connected to your intelligence or what you've read about and what you've studied. Some beliefs are completely false to everybody except for the person who believes it. If I believe that I can see a pink flying gorilla and he speaks to me in French every morning, well, I don't think there's anybody else who sees a pink flying gorilla that speaks French. There are some other beliefs as well. What if the doctor tells you take these tablets to get better? You take the tablets and you get better, but then the doctor tells you they're only sugar. Here you believe they were medicine, and because you believe they were medicine, you got better. This is the placebo effect, and it's a belief and it's a effect, but what it does is it shows you that just because something works, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. There's some false positives, should we say, and the placebo effect is one of those. So 3 types of truth: the correspondence theory, coherence theory, and pragmatic theory. in this course, we're not going to focus too much on truth, but we're going to focus on assigning truth value. So we're going to do truth value, and we're going to assign it basically by a combination of correspondence theory and coherence theory. Okay, that's it. Connects to truth because we talked about reality. So we want to really work out what is reality. Now, reality is mediated by our perceptions, and we have senses. We can use our eyes to see, our ears to listen, our fingers to feel, and so on. Here you can see the slide, and to me, the slide's moving. It looks like I don't know, like a little bit of a movie, but in fact, the slide is not moving. That moving effect is created by my brain looking at this particular pattern, and assuming you're human, your brain should create the same sort of effect for you. Here we are, we have another picture added, and to me it looks like there are some cylinders rolling around, and in fact there are not any cylinders rolling around. It's just that my brain is creating that effect based on the image in front. So now we know, just because we think it's moving, it's not necessarily moving. So this is the difference between perceiving something and something being reality. We can add one more here. You should be able to see dark black squares and light gray circles. Interestingly, those light gray circles are not there. Those are created by your brain. And the last one, perhaps you think you're seeing an elephant, but when you look very closely at it, you realize there's something just a little bit different. If you didn't work it out yet, try counting the legs. So yeah, I agree, it looks like an elephant, but it's certainly not an elephant that anybody else has ever seen. Okay, now we've just touched on the idea of true, but let's get into assigning values of true or false to simple, short declarative statements. So remember, if it's a declarative statement, we can assign it the value of true or false. If it's not a declarative statement, we cannot assign it a value, a truth value. Okay, pause the video and make your decisions about each one of these. Okay, right. The first one, which is following? I'm a man. Well, if you thought I was you and not me, then I have no idea what your answer will be. But because I'm male and I'm not a boy, I'm a man. So for me, I assign it the value of true. A man is a mammal. According to my high school biology classes, man was classified as mammal. So yes, true. I am a mammal. Well, using the combination of the first two premises, I can come up to the third one. I am a mammal. Yeah, it seems good. But is it true or not? Yeah. Again, according to my biology classes, when I went to school, humans were classed as mammals. The second one, fish are green. False. Some fish are green, but not all fish. Here, even though it doesn't say the word all, it's assumed. So when it says fish are green, we assume it's all fish are green, and that's not true. False. Green is blue. Well, that's not true. Perhaps some shades of green and some shades of blue can be perceived as being the same, but not all green is not all blue. False. Fish are blue. Again, it's false. Goldfish are certainly not blue. Which of the following is a valid argument? Well, no, it's the combination of the premises that combine together to become the conclusion. I'm a man is an animal, a man is a mammal. Well, here what we've got man's repeated. So I am man, a man is a mammal. So if we delete man in both parts, we can get I am a mammal, which is the conclusion. So that's a valid argument. Fish are green, green is blue. Same thing, we can delete green in both parts, combine them together. Fish are blue. Yeah, valid, valid. They're both valid. It doesn't mean that they're correct though. It just means it's valid. The sound conclusion. Now this is where we combine things together. To have a sound conclusion, you need both true premises and a valid argument. If you have true premises and a valid argument, your conclusion must therefore be true. And because it's true based on valid arguments, we call the conclusion sound. In this case, 1 is the only sound conclusion. The second one, the argument was valid, but the premises are false. If you have false premises, you cannot have a sound conclusion. And those were the answers. So what do we know? Well, we know that for premises to be true, the content of the premise has to fit in your world knowledge. So I'm assuming that you're reasonably educated, normally intelligent, and you have no really strange beliefs. For a valid argument, the conclusion must be true if the premises are true. If the premises are false, the conclusion may or may not be true. We just don't know. To understand whether an argument is valid or not, it has to be proven by the truth tables, and there are actually 5 forms of valid arguments in propositional logic, and we're going to focus on those 5 forms in this course. A conclusion is sound only in the case when the premises are true and the argument is valid. And because the premise is true and the argument is valid, the conclusion is both true and sound. We're not going to look at them too much in this lecture, but there are 5 valid arguments. So this is just showing you what's coming up. So throughout the course, we'll be using these arguments. You'll need to know the names of the forms of the argument, and more importantly, the structures of the argument. We're going to use a simple shorthand structure here, something like if A then B, A therefore B. Some of them are negative, and we have some that use or. Okay, thank you.